You are watching Sammy the Interviewing Toucan, made possible by the Indiana Young Readers Center. Do, 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 do. Hey everyone, it's Sammy here, and I'm here today with B.A. Williamson. Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sammy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be talking to an Indiana author. It's my favorite thing. So I've been doing a lot of interviews with authors, and I always start by asking them, tell me a little bit about yourself and your connection to Indiana.
Well, I was born in Noblesville, just on the northeast side of Indianapolis. I went to college down at Indiana University, and I've taught middle school since then in Danville and now down in Franklin Township. I live in Irvington, right on the east side of Indy. So I'm Indiana born and raised and a proud Hoosier.
That's so great. I'm actually super familiar with Irvington, so that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know this person who actually grew up there, so, but I don't talk about that person much. So let's keep talking about you. Can you tell us a little bit about your writing? I've got one of your books right here.
Yes, so I write what's called middle grade fiction, which is generally for kids who are not quite at the young adult range yet. So kind of in, grades 4 through 7. But I tend to think that I just write stories that I like, and they're not so much kids' books, they're just books with kids in them. And so this is The Marvelous Adventures of Gwendolyn Gray, and you have a copy over there. And Gwendolyn Gray is a misfit, and she has this outrageous red hair, which really stands out when she's over here in her home of the city, which has no imagination at all. Everything is gray and dull and super boring, and there's no imagination at all, which is a problem for her because she is a huge daydreamer, has an enormous imagination, and it's always running away with her and getting her in trouble. And then one day, her imaginary ideas start coming to life, and she accidentally gives one of her classmates a pair of rabbit ears, and there's furry orange monsters infesting her bedroom, all sorts of fun stuff. But it becomes less fun when the faceless gentlemen show up, Mr. 5 and Mr. 6, who want to erase her and everything she's imagined. And she's saved by two friends who are explorers from other worlds, and they take her on an adventure where she jumps from story to story in all sorts of different genres, and the faceless gentlemen follow. And so she has to learn to use her imagination to save all these worlds that they're traveling to and her city as well. And so in the first book, she goes into Talk, which is a steampunk world full of airship pirates and clockwork robots and all sorts of fun stuff.
Wow, that sounds so amazing and really fun. Is this the only book about Gwendolyn? Are there more?
There are more. Just last month, we came out with book 2, which is The Fantastical Exploits of Gwendolyn Gray. I try and get through the
Yeah,
glare
what a great
there.
looking cover. That's fantastic.
Yes, and so as you can kind of see, they go together really well.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, Gwendolyn's a little bit older, a little bit more mature. And so she's jumping through worlds again. And over here you see this is the Library of All Wonder. It's a magical library between worlds where every story ever imagined ends up. And she also jumps into Feoria, which is the land of the fairies. And they kind of
Oh.
help her learn to control her magic. But at the same time, fairies are always a little out of control. And so as the books grow up and the readers grow up too, it starts dealing with some slightly more mature topics. In book 2, Gwendolyn discovers that she's bipolar. And that's one of the reasons she has a lot of energy sometimes. But she also
Wow.
struggles with depression too. So hanging around a bunch of fairies isn't always that great when you're trying to control all your extra energy, and being on the run from evil shadow monsters isn't great when you're trying to work through some depression. And so she has to learn to manage her powers as well as kind of manage her emotional state. And I thought it was important for younger readers to get to see that issue dealt with and see people like them in a way that you often only see teenagers addressed with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit more about why you wanted to write a little bit about depression in young people? I know it feels important and it absolutely is important. I'm just interested to hear more about that.
Sure. Part of it is that I'm bipolar myself, so it makes it a lot easier to write from that experience. But at the end of the first book, there's definitely some loss that Gwendolyn experiences. And, she goes through really dangerous, life-threatening situations. She's fighting monsters and people are dying or, they don't necessarily stay dead. But,
Thank goodness.
some really traumatic experiences. And, we can't always fight wars with giant lions against white witches and then just come back like everything's normal. So at the start of book 2, I wasn't planning on it, but her character just started acting really down. And I was like, oh, I think she's depressed from the trauma she experienced in the first book. And that just felt very real to me, to have these very realistic consequences to what we would normally just think of as really lighthearted adventures, that those actually have an effect on people. And so it's amazing how once you start writing, the characters can take on a life of their own, which is absolutely what happens in the book to Gwendolyn, is that her characters take on a life of their own and they start doing things you don't expect. And so suddenly she was going into another adventure and there were fairies everywhere and she started acting, really out of control and not like herself. And that was a realization, oh, she's going through what I've been through. And she just talked to me and she told me who her character was. It sounds really weird to explain, but sometimes I discover the characters just like the readers do.
I don't think it sounds weird at all. I just think children's literature is so great for that power that it has to be able to tell a fantastical story while at the same time, exploring something that children might be going through in their own lives. I just think that's great. So speaking of, personal matters, how are you doing with the current health crisis? Are you doing all right? Do you have any advice?
I am doing fine. I'm fortunate. I have my wife, and she and I teach, and she works for an online school. So we both got to still do our jobs a lot, but they were online now. We have a 7-year-old and a 5-month-old, and they make it a lot of fun. So it's hard to be sad. Yeah, busy, but it's hard to be all that sad when you've got a cute smiley baby in your arms.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm inviting all of my authors to share a little something. Did you have something you wanted to share with our viewers?
Sure. I have 2 things here. One, they're both from the book. This is what in the book is called a lambent, and it glows, and people stare at it, and there's nothing in it. It's just this empty white light, and it sort of hypnotizes them and makes everybody really calm and peaceful, and it drains the imagination out of them. So nobody has any curiosity or asks any questions. It just makes everyone really dull and boring.
That sounds horrible.
It's awful. But
I really need people to have imagination. It's important to me.
Exactly. But then she finds the opposite, and she calls it the figment. And it's another gem and glows, but it fills her head with stories and information and everything that her city has lost. And so they're kind of the opposite uses of technology. You can either, just fill up on technological junk food and drain yourself and hypnotize yourself into not doing anything, or you can create and make and share things and learn things and have just amazing time and adventure.
And I mean, that's kind of what we're doing today, right?
Exactly. So yeah.
I love it. Well, gosh, this was so exciting to talk to you and to meet you. And I want to wish you a lot of luck as the new book is coming out.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, hopefully we can get a lot of readers who see this and can enjoy these adventures.
I would love that. All right, you take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.